Today's lesson is artificial sweetener may cause cancer, says WHO. Hi, I'm Roger.
And I'm Helen.
And today we're going to talk about an artificial sweetener. If you like sweet food but you don't want to put sugar on your food, you can consider an artificial sweetener. But there's one particular type of artificial sweetener that may be dangerous. It may cause cancer, according to the World Health Organization.
Yes, an artificial sweetener is a substance that makes food sweet. So artificial refers to things that are created by people, things that don't occur in nature. And the sweetener is a substance that makes food taste sweet. An artificial sweetener would thus be a chemical that makes food taste sweet. It's not maple syrup or honey or table sugar. It's something artificial. And when something is artificial, there's always the question of whether it's going to harm us or not.
Right, so we're very concerned about that, and a lot of people don't want to have too much sugar in their diet, so they look for artificial sweeteners like there's xylitol. But today we're going to talk specifically about one called aspartame, so let's find out what this is all about. Let's listen to the first part, and then we'll discuss it for you.
Artificial sweetener may cause cancer, says WHO. Aspartame, an artificial sweetener used in products from soft drinks to chewing gum, has been labeled possibly carcinogenic to humans by the World Health Organization. While this label indicates scientific evidence of a possible link between aspartame and cancer, it is less serious than two other WHO labels, probably carcinogenic to humans and carcinogenic to humans, which are used for products like red meat and tobacco.
Aspartame, an artificial sweetener used in products from soft drinks to chewing gum, has been labeled possibly carcinogenic to humans by the World Health Organization. So first off, aspartame is an artificial sweetener. And this popular artificial sweetener is often used in soft drinks. A soft drink is a drink like soda or juice. It's called soft drink because perhaps it doesn't have alcohol in it, because drinks that have alcohol might be called hard liquor or something like that. So soft drinks are beverages that you drink for lunch, for breakfast. And it's also found in chewing gum. So chewing gum is a type of sweet, or it could be a minty type of candy that you chew but you don't swallow.
Right, and people chew gum for various reasons, and soft drinks could include tea or coffee or soda or whatever. I said pop where I'm from. We say pop, but other people say soda, a carbonated beverage. And again, chewing gum can help you if you're nervous or something like that. And this particular sweetener that's used in these products has been labeled possibly carcinogenic to humans by the World Health Organization. So here we've got the term to label. If you label something, you just say it is this particular type of thing. And the World Health Organization, or WHO for short, says that this particular substance, this artificial sweetener, possibly might cause cancer. If something causes cancer, it's often said to be carcinogenic.
Yes, and while this label indicates scientific evidence of a possible link between aspartame and cancer, it is less serious than two other WHO labels, probably carcinogenic to humans and carcinogenic to humans, which are used for products like red meat and tobacco. So the World Health Organization has many functions, and among its functions is labeling different substances and foods so that people know whether these substances and foods are safe. And in the case of aspartame, as we saw, the WHO labeled this artificial sweetener as being possibly carcinogenic. But the World Health Organization also has other labels. One of them is probably carcinogenic to humans, which is more serious than possibly carcinogenic. So there is a greater likelihood that something is carcinogenic if it's labeled probably instead of possibly. And the other label, which is carcinogenic to humans, refers to things that are undoubtedly carcinogenic, which means there is no doubt that if people use enough of this substance or eat enough of it, then that person will very likely or have a pretty high chance of getting cancer.
Right, so the World Health Organization has different levels, different labels for foods in terms of their ability to cause cancer. So the first one is possibly carcinogenic. And then we've got other more serious labels, probably carcinogenic to humans, and then definitely carcinogenic to humans. So there are different levels here. Possibly carcinogenic means, well, maybe about a 20-30% chance that it might cause cancer in people. Possibly, if it probably causes cancer, then that's probably over 60%. And if it's carcinogenic to humans, well, that is 90% and above. So those are important distinctions among those levels. And now they've come out with this new label for aspartame. They think it's possibly carcinogenic to humans, so a lot of people are probably going to be concerned about that.
Yes, and as far as I know, when we talk about red meat that's grilled or that's cooked so that it turns brown and it's slightly burnt, that is carcinogenic to humans rather than probably carcinogenic. So there is a definite link between cancer and red meat, especially when the red meat is grilled or barbecued.
So be careful when you have an outdoor barbecue with that meat because it could cause cancer if you don't cook it the right way. Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson. Let's go on now to the second part and continue talking about the artificial sweetener aspartame.
Aspartame has been on the market for years and is considered generally safe for human consumption by multiple government bodies, including the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. In fact, a risk assessment carried out by WHO experts concluded that the organization's own guidelines for aspartame consumption, a daily maximum of 40 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, need not change.
大家好，第二部分我们来介绍名词 consumption， 它的意思是食用、消费或是消耗量。例如 excess consumption of fats and sugars can lead to serious health problems. 过量摄入脂肪和糖会导致严重的健康问题。又或者说 As consumption began to drop, the stores in the area made less money. 随着消费开始下降，该地区商店赚的钱也减少了。另外补充这个字的相关动词 consume, C-O-N-S-U-M-E, consume. 它的意思是吃、喝或是消耗、消费的意思。例如Japan consumes more seafood per capita than most other countries. 在日本，每人平均食用的海鲜比大部分其他国家都多。或者 Vincent consumed the entire contents of his refrigerator over the weekend. Vincent 在周末期间吃掉了他冰箱里全部的东西。接下来我们看到名词 administration， 它的意思是行政部门、管理部门或是行政。例如The administration is taking steps to improve the quality of school lunches. 行政部门正采取措施以提高学校午餐的品质。又或者说 Many people had high hopes for the new administration. 许多人对新的行政部门团队有很高的期许。再来我们看到 assessment， 这个名词的意思是评估、鉴定或是估价。例如 We need a detailed assessment of the possible risks that we might run into. 我们需要对可能遇到的风险进行详细评估。又或者说 The supervisor will make an assessment of the team's progress. 该主管将对团队的进展进行评估。另外去掉这个字的字尾 ment 就会变成动词 assess， 意思是评估、衡量或是测量。例如 Experts are assessing the financial state of the company. 专家正在评估该公司的财务状况。又或者说Peter wears a monitor to assess his heart rate when he exercises. Peter 带了一个监测器来测量他运动时的心率。接下来我们看到名词 guideline， 这个字的意思是准则或是指导方针。例如 If you follow the safety guidelines, you are less likely to get injured during the climb. 如果你遵守安全准则，你在攀登过程中受伤的可能性就会降低。或是 The government recently made changes to its guidelines for a healthy diet. 该政府最近修改了健康饮食指导方针。最后来介绍名词 maximum， 这个字的意思是最大值或是最大量。例如 According to the fire code, a room of this size can hold a maximum of 100 people at a time. 根据消防规范，这种大小的房间一次最多可容纳100人。或是 The criminal was sentenced to a maximum of 2 years in prison. 该罪犯被判处最高2年监禁。
Aspartame has been on the market for years and is considered generally safe for human consumption by multiple government bodies, including the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Now, when something has been on the market for years, it means that it has been available for sale or for people to buy for many years. So aspartame isn't a new artificial sweetener. It has been around for many years and people have been buying it for many years. And it is also considered generally safe. When something is considered to be something, it just means that many people think this to be true. So many people think generally that aspartame is a safe substance for human consumption. In other words, it's safe for humans to eat.
Yeah, people think of it as being safe for people to eat. Consumption, of course, is when you eat something. I could say that this particular sector of the population is responsible for the consumption of most of the corn produced in the fall. But in this particular case, we're talking about the substance being safe for human consumption, and lots of government bodies or government departments, they have come to this conclusion, and that includes the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Administration refers to a part of the government that is responsible for taking care of certain things. To administer, as the verb, means to run something, to handle the operations of something. So an administration can refer to the process of handling things, but it can also refer to that section of the government that has a certain kind of responsibility.
Right. So when a new president comes into power, we attach the word administration to that person. We can talk about the Biden administration, which refers to the group of people or the management of the government that is headed by Biden, or the Tsai administration, which is the management of the country that's led by President Tsai.
Exactly. And so we have different multiple government bodies that say aspartame is generally safe for human consumption. In fact, a risk assessment carried out by WHO experts concluded that the organization's own guidelines for aspartame consumption, a daily maximum of 40 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, need not change. So, in fact, it is true that we have this risk assessment carried out by WHO experts. An assessment is an evaluation of something. They gather information and then they come to some sort of conclusions about it. You might want to have an assessment of the stock market before you decide to invest. So here they've had a risk assessment, and it was conducted or managed or carried out by WHO experts. And that assessment concluded that the WHO's own guidelines for aspartame consumption need not change. Okay, guidelines are just general rules about how something is conducted or how it is administered.
Right. So we have several phrases in this long sentence. First, we have assessment, and risk assessment is actually a set phrase. We often say risk assessment when we want to find out the risk of something. Before you buy stocks, for instance, or make some kind of investment, you want to do a risk assessment to see how much money you might lose, how dangerous or risky this investment is. And we also have guidelines. So this word is usually used in the plural form. I could also say that a company has specific guidelines for putting in requests for time off. So if you're working for a company, you can't just leave. If you want to take time off, you have to go through the procedures. You have to follow the guidelines for taking time off. So the WHO has particular guidelines for how people should consume aspartame, how much they should consume it without endangering their health. And according to them, the amount of consumption should be a daily maximum of 40 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. A maximum is an amount that refers to the largest that's possible or the largest that is required or allowed. I could say, for instance, this elevator holds a maximum of 8 people, which means that if you have 9 people in the elevator, any number greater than 8, then there is the risk that this elevator will malfunction.
And the opposite of maximum, of course, is minimum. Sometimes if you go to a restaurant or a coffee shop, they have a minimum charge. You must pay at least $200 NT to dine here or to have coffee or whatever. That is the minimum. You can't spend any less than that. But here we're talking about a maximum. You can't consume any more than 40 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. So if you weigh 50 kilograms, then you do your multiplication and then you know how many milligrams of this particular substance your body can endure on a daily basis. So again, even though they have come out with this new label, the maximum amount that you consume is not going to change. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson. Let's wrap things up now in the third part.
Some food and beverage manufacturers have expressed concern that the WHO's label will confuse consumers. According to the Beverage Industry Association, American Beverage, a can of diet soda typically contains 100 milligrams of aspartame. So, to exceed the WHO's recommended limit would require consuming huge amounts of diet soda daily. The WHO argues, however, that the label should simply result in further research into the possible links between aspartame and cancer.
Some food and beverage manufacturers have expressed concern that the WHO's label will confuse consumers. Now, we have people who are manufacturers of food and beverages. And these people or these companies are worried that what the WHO has said about aspartame will confuse consumers. Now, manufacturers of food and beverages are companies and people who make food and drinks. A beverage is simply a drink. And a beverage could be coffee, it could be soda, it could be plain water. But of course, if you're a beverage manufacturer, you're probably not manufacturing water, but some kind of drink or soft drink. And they're not very happy about the WHO's label for aspartame.
Yep, consumers are people who buy and use these products. And according to the Beverage Industry Association, American Beverage, a can of diet soda typically contains 100 milligrams of aspartame, so to exceed the WHO's recommended limit would require consuming huge amounts of diet soda daily. So we've got some information that comes from this industry association called the American Beverage Association. Association, of course, is just a union of different companies and different units that form one large organization, like the National Basketball Association. You've got all those teams combining together to make this league. And this association is called American Beverage. And they say that, well, a typical can, an average can of diet soda, has 100 milligrams of aspartame. So if you exceed the recommended limit of the WHO, you would need to drink huge amounts of diet soda daily, maybe 100 cans or so.
Yes. Now, a milligram is, of course, equal to 1,000th of a gram. So if we said before that a daily maximum of 40 milligrams is allowed per kilogram of body weight, and we consider that an average person is 60 kilograms, that means that that person cannot exceed 2,400 milligrams of aspartame. Now, since a can of soda contains 100 milligrams, that means you would need to consume many cans of soda in order to exceed that daily maximum.
And the WHO argues, however, that the label should simply result in further research into the possible links between aspartame and cancer. So that's what the WHO says. Yeah, this label is just for reference, and hopefully people will conduct further research into this topic to find out if diet soda or other food items that are sweetened with aspartame do pose a threat to people's health. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分有一句写到，世界卫生组织专家进行的风险评估断定怎么样怎么样。那么文中它用到名词 assessment 来表达评估的意思。那它其实除了有评估还有鉴定啊估价的意思。那它的动词是assess， 我们这边来学它的字首字根。好，当我们看到 SESS 或者是 SED 或是 SID 或是 SIDE 这一类字根就有 sit 就是做啊或者是就做的意思。那它们带有保持在某一种状态的含义。那在 assess 这个字当中，它的字首 AS 是来自 AD 表示朝向，那么字根 SESS 表示做。那 assess 这个字的典故其实就是从字面意思坐在一旁来描述说法官助理在旁边协助处理罚款或是税款的事情。那主要就是估算财产价值才知道要付多少税款，所以 assess 这个动词就有估价征税或是对什么做评估的意思。好，那顺便补充两个有相同字根的单字。第一个是 session， 它的字根 SESS 表示做，那么 ION 是名词字尾。同学们可以试着想想看，什么场合需要大家坐下来呢？那通常就是有开会啊集会的时候。 session 这个字它就有会议会期的意思，那它也可以指说从事某项活动的一段时间啊或者是一节的那种意思。第二个补充的是 possess， 那它的字首 POS 表示具有掌控力， SESS 表示做。那同学们也许就可以用坐拥掌控权去联想到 possess 它有支配啊持有占有或是拥有的意思。好，那课文第三部分写到，根据饮料业界协会美国饮料协会的说法，一罐无糖汽水通常含有100毫克阿斯巴甜，要超过世界卫生组织所建议的上限，需要每天饮用大量的无糖汽水。那文中用到 huge amounts of diet soda 来表达大量的无糖汽水。这边我们来学习一下 amount 的相关用法。Amount 通常是用来表达不可数名词的量，可能像时间、金钱、水等等。那它的用法是或是 an 加形容词 amount of 加名词。我们也可以用形容词加 amounts of 加名词。那其中这个形容词我们常会用 large、huge、great、small 等等去修饰它数量的多寡。举例来说， They spent an enormous amount of money on the wedding. 他们花了很多钱在婚礼上。那最后也补充一下，如果是 no amount of something 则是用来表达再多的再大量的什么什么都无法怎么样，常常会搭配助动词 will, can 或是 could 等等。例如 No amount of persuasion could change his mind. 再多的劝说也无法改变他的心意。好，那以上就是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天单字吧。
Consumption. People on diets often seek to reduce their consumption of sugar. Administration. The university's administration is working on improving campus facilities for students. Assessment. Before deciding on a treatment, the doctor performed an assessment of the patient's condition. Guideline. Carefully following the safety guidelines will lower the risk of accident or injury. Maximum. Molly's parents said she could invite a maximum of 20 people to her birthday party. Association. Adrian joined the Photography Association to make connections with other photographers. Exceed. If you exceed the speed limit, you might get a speeding ticket.
Discussion Starter starts now.
Here's our discussion starter for today. Will the WHO's label affect the amount of aspartame you consume? Why or why not?
No, I don't expect the label to change my consumption of aspartame since I don't consume a lot of aspartame to begin with. I don't chew gum, I don't drink diet soda, so it's not going to affect the way I eat or drink.
Well, yes, considering that sometimes I do consume diet soda and that it might have other harmful ingredients in it beside aspartame, I think I will think twice before I have my next can of Diet Coke.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Helen.
I am Roger.
See you next time.